We're here joined. Sorry, my notes are just flying. Okay, how's my voice? Do I need to speak louder?
Louder.
Can we turn up the volume? Okay, it's good. All right. Okay, I'll start over again. Before we begin, I would like to first acknowledge that the land on which we gather on is Treaty Number 6 and current home of the James Smith Cree Nation. We're here with us today are the family members of the people who have lost their lives. As well as the leadership and dignitaries, and they include Chief Wally Burns, Chief Calvin Sanderson, Chief Robert Head, Grand Chief Brian Hardlotte, Chief Bobby Cameron, Honorable Scott Moe, Premier of Saskatchewan, RCMP Commissioner Brenda Lucky, as well as RCMP Assistant Commissioner Rhonda Blackmore, as well as MP Randy Hoback, MLA Betty Nippy Albright, MLA Todd Gowdry, and Vice Chief Heather Bear of the Federation of Saskatchewan Indian Nations, Vice Chief David Pratt, Vice Chief Ali Bear. And with that, we'll start with the program. Before we start with the speakers, I just want to bring to the attention of the media here that there's some that you will not be allowed to record the ceremony, the Sweat Lodge ceremony over in this area on the south side, or the ceremonial fire on your way in. You won't be allowed to travel in the community taking visuals. We'll have the speakers come up and give a statement, and then from there I'll open the floor up to questions. I will be moving to the truck in the background and taking questions from the Zoom that is being live streamed to Facebook right now. Okay, so with that, I'd like to ask, we'll start with, so before we go any further, I'd like to ask the Wapit and Dakota singers to start our program off with a song, with an honor song. First Nations Veterans Association, as well as Chief Bart Tassani of Hatchet Lake Denisovan Nation. Okay, with that, I'd like to call upon, let's see, Chief Wally Burns. And Chief Wally Burns is from James Smith Cree Nation.
Where to begin or where to start? I've been thinking for the past few days. No words can emphasize the feelings that we're going through. There are a lot of us, the families, the membership, that are seeking help. There's a lot of emotions right now. No words can express anything on the things that happened. There are a lot of things that occurred in the past little while, the stories, that are out there. I commend the families that are here. Courage, the love, we ask all of yous to come together with prayers and thoughts. I'm trying to hold myself together with the words that need to come out. We ask three things from the governments. We ask that we have our own tribal policing. We ask for awareness in addictions. We ask for treatment centers so things wouldn't happen like this to any nations around the world. We don't wish this upon anybody. You know, I've been thinking, and today was the day supposed to be at 10 o'clock but moved to 11 for this conference call. Today we found out the monarch that served Canada has passed. She wrote a letter to James Smith Cree Nation on behalf of the monarch. expressing the condolences to the families, the friends, to the community, and to the rest of the world. I'd like to thank the Prime Minister of Canada for taking time to speak to us, his ministers, and also the other governments of level of governments. I'd like to thank the Premier for coming. I'd like to thank everybody that's here. But this is not why we're here. We are here for the families, to support them in time of need. My nephews lost their father, my best friend. My family on the left lost their sister. These acts of violence have to stop, and they have to stop now. With the way that the world's going now, I think it takes a whole community to back and support the youth. Our elders, our community members. I got a lot of calls yesterday from different chiefs from all over Canada expressing their condolences to the family. I commend Chief Clarence Louis for reaching out. I commend those other chiefs that came into the community yesterday to visit the families. I'd like to thank our team, the team that was set up. Without them, I think we'd be scattered all over the place. Bringing us back to a circle, making us understand we're here for them. We're here to make them heal. We got to collect all the resources that we can to help them heal. We got to protect our community. Fight against drugs and alcohol. I'd like to thank those communities far and wide, different countries, nations, that express their condolences to the family. I'd like to thank our warriors that are here today, making sure we're safe. I'd like to thank the sweat lodge keepers, the knowledge keepers that are here, helping in our own customary way. I thank our singers that gave us the honor song. I thank the people behind the scenes, making sure everybody is safe. And most of all, I thank the RCMP, working with them all hours of the night, asking for reports, updates. Without them and the help, this guy wouldn't have been caught. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And there's no words to express or close off my words. Just with a heavy heart. But we all have to come together as a community, as Canadians, as a whole. So in closing, God bless you all. And thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, our council, Councillor Justin Burns, Gerald Mackay, Debbie McLean, and Vice Chief Alvin Mustus. So with that, I thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Chief Burns. Next, I'll call up Chief Calvin Sanderson of the Chakastay Basin First Nation.
Which one are you using here? Oh. Oikenes naskop na kakio. E petokopa e kakio nete far and wide. Kateak, our elders, Uskaiwak, Uskaiwak, Uskapiwak, Uskapiwak. Our helpers, our lodges, our elders, for lifting up the pipes far and near, for this young fella that's holding my bonnet today. He dances in our powwows, in our traditional regalias. So many of our membership that we lost. Affected me too. My relatives, my nephew and nieces. And we're having a hard time here. For all the help, the well wishes coming far and near, Pugite, all over. To our visitors, to all the condolences to the families, and the ones that are in the hospitals. Our command center, the emergency response teams. Thanks for keeping our community safe. And our command center for looking after our membership, the hotels in Saskatchewan, Prince Albert, and the ones that fled our community for their safety. You helped us lots from your heart for all the donations that you have given us. It'll take a while for our community to heal. And we're starting that process today. As you can see, so many tents around here in our teepees. The fires that were lit for their families will be soon put out when we are done our grieving and saying our farewell. It's windy. They're here with us. Very strong wind. They come here. And our smudging, our elders that help us heal too as leaders. Our leaders will need that help too. They're having a hard time. I'd just like to thank all the provincial and federal governments for all the response they gave us. Our community will take a while for us to heal. Our teepees will not come down until we reach every one of our family members, our relatives, totem, our relatives, our reverend, all our reverends that are coming far and near to help us here. We'll be having our First Holy Communion this evening, 5 o'clock. We'll be lighting our candles up after that Holy Communion. There'll be a lot of singers coming in and out, far and near, our drum groups. So pace it with us. There's supposed to be an anniversary here that we were supposed to celebrate on Monday. That happened a year ago. Forever Child Matters, that affected my family too back. Lost a niece and his partner. And a year ago, 3 years ago, we lost another incident here. These are real. This is going to be the hardest ones to heal our community. It will take some time. And I'm glad that healing process is starting in our community. It affected us all big time. And our chiefs down in Saskatchewan, with all the condolences and support they have been giving us. And I thank the media for respecting our privacy with the family members. They're having their gatherings, their wakes as we speak. And the family members that are here, my niece, my sister, ego pituta vista, my former colleagues, Guy, to my counselors, Florence, Sanderson, Derek Sanderson, Barry, Gillis, for stepping up and helping. Whoever comes out there and come and help us heal here, come and help us out. You're more than welcome to come and stay in our community for how long it takes. Just very grateful that we finally have some closure here. That took a while. Ikamago tano tanani pauyan as a chief. Got to start working on these things, not to push it underneath the rug. We're not the only ones that are impacted. As you know, it's impacting us all, whether it's in the cities, in our First Nations communities. But not let's forget about, let's get some solutions. The mandates and the commitments the provincial and the federal governments made for us. That time will come. But let's not drag it on. Because our membership here too are very angry. We can make these solutions. the tragedies that maybe some other First Nations are gonna endure. Sorry how I'm speaking a little bit of Cree, but that's our language here within Nipawiak. Ego sige naskup now. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Sanderson. Next, I'd like to call up Chief Robert Head of the Peter Chapman First Nation.
Is this the main mic right here?
Yeah, and then just hold it close.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank the elder for the prayers this morning, the elders. I want to thank the Creator for allowing us another day in this world. And on behalf of Peter Chapman Band, we want to start off by extending our condolences to all the families here and the families in Weldon. Our deepest sympathies to each of the families on the losses that you endured, you suffered. Hello, testing. As well, our leadership here, I stand beside my Councillor Adam Whitehead and Councillor Valerie Whitehead and myself, Chief Robert Head. We represent Peter Chapman First Nation, Peter Chapman Band. I just want to remind all Canadians that First Nations people, we've been here in this country we call Canada now. We've been here tens of thousands of years before arrival of the Europeans, before the cities, before the towns, before the Saskatchewan. We were here all this time, living on the land amongst our people. We have our own laws, we have our own justice system, we have our own culture, our own religion, languages all across Canada. Our people lived here. We signed treaties in the 1800s. We gave up our lands, which you call Canada now, and the provinces. And we ask you, Canadians, Canadian people, honor our treaties. Honor our treaties, work with the government. We need help in our First Nations lands to implement our own justice system, implement our own laws, implement all the things under the Truth and Reconciliation Commission that have been outlined. If we did all of those things, our people would be good. We would be set. We wouldn't have problems like we have in our lands, underfunding, lack of housing. We wouldn't have those problems. We would be just as well off as your regular average Canadian. So I ask you to get behind the government and start implementing our Truth and Reconciliation recommendations and honor our treaties. We gave up so much so that you guys could have so much, and that's all we ask. But today's not the day for that discussion. I just wanted to start off by reminding Canadians that all of this land before you was our land. So thank you for all being here today. I just want to say to the families, the Chief and Council here, we're honored to be your leaders. We've been working diligently for years, and we still work to this day. We've lost loved ones ourselves. My first cousin passed away, and it was very hard for each and every one of us in this community, very hard for the leadership. We had to respond very quickly to help all the people, and here on the ground it was like a war zone. I gotta thank STARS. You know, they had 4 helicopters here, and they were just coming down and landing and taking people to the hospital, and they did such a good job organizing and making a command center there at the band office and helping all the injured get off to the hospital. Right now we still have 14 families that are in the hospitals there. We have loved ones in the cities attending to their family members, and our prayers go out to them for a speedy recovery. You know, we love our people. We're very close knit here. Each and every one of these is a heartbreaking incident that nobody should ever have to go through. And it's very nice of you all to be here to hear our story, because this is something that can be avoided. We can avoid this. You know, we've heard First Nations tribal police. You know, we need First Nations justice systems. We need support for mental health. We need addiction centers. These are some of the things that we can address together. And I'm just glad that Premier Scott Moe is here, Todd Gowdy, Betty Nippy, Randy Hoback. You know, they're all here behind us, supporting us. We're going to work together on this. We're going to fix this for our people, for all the future generations, the little ones that are up and coming, the youth. The elders will be so happy to know that this will never happen again. I'm so grateful that you guys are all here and you're all behind us on this mission. We can fix First Nations problems of this country that we're in. So right now, I just have to thank the RCMP. You know, they've done such hard work. A lot of the members that were on the ground here, they worked their own hours of overtime. You know, they did their shift of 8 hours and they stayed over. They stayed at 2, 3, 4 more hours to help us. They've done so much in our community. They made our people feel safe. They did patrols and searches, and they've just done everything over and above the call of duty. City police forces. We have officers from Manitoba, from Saskatchewan, from Alberta. They all congregated here and they helped us through this. So our deepest thanks to each and every one of you. I wish I could give all of you a hug myself. I would, but I just wanted to thank you publicly. Our reverends, Reverend Teresa Sanderson, Reverend Wilfred Sanderson, they attended the scenes of all the incidents here. They supported the families right from the very morning that everything happened. They were at the hospitals making their rounds, checking on all the family members in the hospitals. You know, they've done so much hard work. We have the Anglican Diocese here, the First Nations Anglican Diocese. And they're not a funded organization. They do it out of the love for the people. They do it out of love for the people. They work harder than the Chief and Council. They work harder than any of us do. They have God guiding them and giving them strength and helping them to lift up the people and support them, especially in times like this. So I just want to recognize them for all the work that they do. I wish they were here. I would give them a hug as well. We love all of our band members and we care for them deeply. And our council here, we've been attending to the home fires that chiefs have spoke about. We've sat down with the family members and talked about their needs. And many of them are just thankful to have people there with them to help them and support them and to talk to them and to hug them and to pray with them. Those are the things that we're going through right now, and that's what we're going to be doing in the future with our services, our wake services, and then the funeral services to come. The worst of it is over, but now we're going to be going into the healing part, and that's going to take a long time. We're going to need a lot of support, and I just thank all the organizations that reached out for each and every one of our nations here, helped us with donations, food donations and cash donations and support for mental health. Everything is coming that we need to get through this tragedy. It's a very heartbreaking tragedy, and I just wanted to thank each and every one of you for being behind us on this, and thank you for being here. Ego said.
Thank you, Chief Head. Next, I'd like to call up Grand Chief Brian Hardlotte of the Prince Albert Grand Council.
Yeah, this goes. These things work. Huh? Tindige. Kita nas ko mo. Mamoy go tawin on. Sagi sagag. I want to thank our great creator for giving us this beautiful day. Tindige, tiayak. Kaya mista moyak. Thank you, elders, for the opening prayer. Kinanas komitnan. Kinanas komitnan, we thank you. So really, in this press conference, as the Grand Chief, I have the Vice Chief to my left and the Chief of APTN Nation to my right here to support me. And really sending the condolences to the families. The condolences to the families affected in this terrible event. Of course, our thoughts and our prayers to those families who have lost their loved ones, and the ones in the hospitals, we pray for them for recovery. I want to also, of course, or I should say, we acknowledge the James Smith Cree Nation Emergency Operations Center, which was formed under the strong leadership of the chiefs and your council members. James Smith Cree Nation, Saskatchewan Cree Nation, and Peter Chapman. I also, of course, want to thank the other EOC members, including various federal and also provincial governmental agencies. We acknowledge you for the hard work, dedication that was demonstrated these last few days. And also thank them for keeping you safe, keeping the members of James Smith Cree Nation safe. There is an outpouring of support locally, regionally, nationally, and also internationally. We heard the Queen give her message. We heard President Biden give his message. We heard the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister's saying that world leaders sending their condolences to this community. We acknowledge that, and we thank him for that. Of course, a special thank you to the RCMP. Brenda Lucky is here, Commissioner. Rhonda, Commissioner F Division, thank you. Thank you. Kinanaskomitnan. All the first responders that did their work for the protection again for the community of James Smith Cree Nation and also the surrounding communities. I just have to say this, bear with me. In the area of justice, I have to say this, that the criminal system again has failed the Indigenous community the people. This incident sheds light on a fractured system where the parole board has to be more transparent and to make some fundamental changes in consultations with First Nations peoples. The justice system needs to work with our members, our leaders of our First Nations, and establish, in this case, a transition period for those dangerous offenders that are within the system. As we move forward, this is a call for the Attorney General, the Commissioner, and the First Nations leaders have always said this, and it is time. It is time. Our bylaws, our band council resolutions, they have to be enforced by the RCMP. They have to be. In the area of justice, the term restorative justice, we have to get back to that. That system must be the way forward. Again, we have to have those sentencing circles, those justice committees in our communities. And this can be done voluntarily. There has to be funding for that. PAGC in the area of policing. PAG with the mandate of the chiefs. They did a policing and also a justice symposium in 2018. The recommendations were made there in the area of policing, self-administered policing, and justice. Attorney General, you have those recommendations within your office. I call on you to review that. Prince Albert Grand Council, along with FSIN, and again from the mandate from the chiefs, they have been doing work in tribal policing, self-administered policing. The chiefs gave that mandate. And I remind the federal government, budget 2021 proposed to provide 43.7 million over 5 years, beginning 2021, 2022, to co-develop a legislative framework for First Nations. Coming to an end here. PAGC has been working with the federal government after the chief's mandate to develop tribal policing framework. PAGC, along with the chiefs, will be meeting with the federal government immediately to discuss how we can move forward. Prince Albert Grand Council has started this work and a roadmap was developed. In March of 2022, this year, this mandate reaffirmed through another chiefs meeting. PAGC began meeting with provincial and federal officials to begin a feasibility study. We are now waiting for that funding, for that feasibility to look at the models that are out there, Fort Capel, the Ontario models, the Manitoba models in tribal policing. So the work has been done. Totimitik, my friends, during these hard times, strenuous times, that our love, compassion for one another is what as First Nations people defines us. There's no doubt that in the upcoming days, weeks, months will be challenging. But we will be there. We will do it, Chiefs. But to the people out there, we will be there. Reach out to the services that are out there, that are available. And thank you, Premier, for your offer. Thank you to the federal government, Rob Harvey, Jocelyn Andrews, for what you offered to help the nations here. Ikosse, tannasko mon. Nannasko mama mo igottain, nannasko mo kihtiajak. 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 PAGC will be there for you. But as leaders, let's listen to our people. Let's listen to our people. Let's listen to our grassroots people. Let us listen to our elders. Nanaskomon. Nanaskomon. Nanaskomon mantu. Hey, hey.
Okay, next I'd like to call up Chief Bobby Cameron of the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations.
Hey, drum group. Hey, can you three of you guys replace those three boys? Just for a couple minutes. Something happened there. I'm gonna acknowledge it. Hey, hey, come up here. Two of you. Those three young boys, come up here. Those three young boys, come here. Come to the front. Come to the front. Okay, come on, let's go. Some of you didn't see during the honor song. We thank the drum group for the honor song. Stand right here. Stand in front of the cameras. Something significant happened here during the honor song. Those flags fell to the ground. Some of us older people went to go and lift it up, put it back on its feet, until these younger men, the youth, took over. To the James Smith people, Peter Chapman and Chaga Sepesin, our prayers and condolences to you and your families. To this lady that's grieving here. To the people in the hospital that we went and visited the last couple of days. The rebuilding and the healing and the grieving is going to begin with our little ones. That's what they did there. They picked up where the old people left off. To build a better life for the three First Nations. These three young men. We thank you for doing that. That was a significant thing that happened. Chief Robert Head, Chief Wally Burns, and Chief Kelvin, and your people. Again, our prayers and condolences to you as you continue to heal, continue to grieve. Grand Chief and your executive. Our veteran, Dave, for being here. Premier Scott Moe and Randy, Todd, Brenda and Rhonda. And to everyone that's here. Somewhere in First Nation country, there is a state of emergency. Right now, there's a state of emergency. And the implementation of the grassroots people, your direction to create a safer and healthier community. No fulfilling, thank you for the prayers, not fulfilling, not least emotional. For the media and all the ministers that have committed to work with First Nations right across the country. Your organization, the FSIN, has put forward a resolution to create our own First Nation Policing Association, driven from our grassroots people, our children, our mushrooms, our youth, our women. We will get there one day. We hope to get there sooner rather than later, to work in conjunction with the RCMP. The eyes and ears at the ground level when the response time is not quick enough. We'll have our own on-the-job tribal police. This is what we have been pushing for several years, and will continue to. Our young ones deserve a better life than we had. Our young ones will live a better life than we had, a healthier life than we had. And Brenda and Rhonda, I want to call you ladies up here. It takes women to make real change in our communities in Canada. It takes women like Ali and Heather to create positive change within the organization. Rhonda and Brenda, I know your heart is in the right place. We've seen in your eyes and we feel it in your words. There are so many resolutions and BCRs that chief and councils right across this country are pushing for. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. Thank you all for listening to us, and let's continue to work together. Premier Moe has committed, and so have the ministers, the federal government. They have committed to work with First Nations leaders. NDP, Betty Nippy, and your crew, we look forward to working with you as well.
Thank you.
Let's all work together to create a healthier, safer community. Let's rebuild our nation in an alcohol and drug-free community. On behalf of the FSIN, our executive, our vice chiefs that are here, and Vice Chief Burrell is not here, we wish each and every one of you safe travels home. And for our babies that depend on us, to give them a better life, we're going to do it together, in unity. That's what say, hi, hi.
Right.
You're cold, eh?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Good job, boys.
Thank you.
Oh, your hands are just cold.
Next I'd like to call up Honorable Scott Moe, Premier of the Government of Saskatchewan.
Well, thank you very much, Tina, and a thank you to Chief Burns, to Chief Sanderson, and to Chief Head for bringing us all together here today to support the community of James Smith First Nation, but also to support the families that have experienced most tragic loss over the course of the last couple of few days now. And I bring on behalf of the government of Saskatchewan, I bring on behalf of the people from corner to corner in this province our condolences, our love, our support, and our prayers. I've talked to my colleagues, other premiers from across the nation, and they have virtually all reached out to offer their condolences and their thoughts and their prayers, and I think it's fair to say that all of Canada is with you during this very, very difficult time. Behind you are your chiefs, Chief Burns, Chief Sanderson, Chief Head. We have Regional Chief Brian Hardlotte. Behind them are our provincial chiefs, Bobby Cameron and the FSIN. Thanks to each of them for working with not only the provincial government, but working with the federal government and other entities in collaborating to support the families that we see in the front that have experienced such loss, to support all of the folks in and around the James Smith community. Thank you for your efforts. And that collaboration that has occurred over the course of the last few days, I think starts with our men and women in uniform. Thank you to Commissioner Lucky, to Assistant Commissioner Rhonda Blackmore, to all of our provincial enforcement agencies, to the municipal enforcement agencies, to our first responders, to STARS, to all of the men and women that have been here over the course of the last number of days, working together, doing what they do to keep this community and to keep Saskatchewan residents and ultimately Canadians safe, and to provide them with the service that we needed. I just want to close with saying one more time, thank you to the regional chiefs for putting this day together. Thank you to all involved in collaborating and supporting our families. And please know that you are not finding your way through this alone. We all find our way. We are all reaching out to support you and your families through what we know is an unthinkable and senseless tragedy.
Finally, we'll have RCMP Commissioner Brenda Lucky to end off with her statement. Commissioner?
Thank you. Thanks so much to the James Smith Cree Nation to have us here to be here during this difficult time. And it's really with a heavy heart that we stand here. The loss felt by the families, the loved ones, and the community for those whose lives were taken in this horrific event is unimaginable. And you know, I was really struck by earlier today, we were in the TP and the elder was talking about the two sides of a heart, the anger and the healing. And you have the commitment of the RCMP that we will stand by you in healing this community and giving everything we can to give you strength and to help you through this most difficult time. The commitment of Assistant Commissioner Rhonda Blackmore and her team to work with First Nations leaders we talked about earlier about community-led and community-driven and community-focused solutions to keeping First Nations communities safe. Working together towards solutions. We're increasing our Indigenous recruitment so that we can provide that structure, so that we can work together for a self-governed police service. This can never happen again. This senseless violence, we need to work together, and it takes bold leaders, and we've had each and every one of the bold leaders speak to us today. And it will also take the bold leadership of Rhonda and her team to work with these First Nations leaders, and you have our commitment. Once again, my deepest condolences on your loss. I can't even imagine what you're going through, and you have our commitment to work with you. Thank you.
Just a moment for the Chiefs and the MP Randy. If I can get the Chiefs up here. Thank you. The words that have been said here from our visitors, from Premier Scott Moe, our MLAs. I'm going to give this medallion to Scott Moe to keep his promise in front of you, to work with us. Let's get this healing going and the commitments that they said here in this mic, to work with our chiefs our FSIN, and our tribal chiefs. On behalf of all of our communities, Chigastepes and James Smith and Peter Chapman, our colleagues, our councillors. So if you don't mind, Premier Scott Moe, to come up here and accept this medallion and to start that work and that foundation. Thank you.
Okay, so at this time, we'll open the floor to questions. So we'll first take questions from the people here, and then I'll be moving back to the excuse me. And then
Come, he said.
okay, before we move to that part, I'm gonna ask, I'm going to hand the mic over here. Mike, it's really cold right now. I'm gonna hand the mic over.
Good afternoon, everyone. I've been asked to share a few words. I'm here to honor my sister. My sister was a member of the community response team, and she responded to a call that morning. The community response team, one of our rules is you don't go alone. You don't go alone. She went alone that morning because a friend needed her help. And that's the kind of person my sister was. Whoever needed help, she would go. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here. It's time to make changes in our community. Sir John A. MacDonald wrote, and I don't have his direct quote, but he wrote that we have to take the children out of the community and educate them. Because if we don't, they are just savages that can read and write. Well, he was wrong. He was wrong. We're not savages. We're not savages. The savages came over on the boat. The savages came over on the ship. The savages were the one that gave our people blankets with smallpox. The savages were the ones in the residential schools that abused and murdered our children. The savages were the ones that came over on the boat. Not us. Not us. Who are we as people? Who are we as people? We're standing here talking about forgiveness. I have a young lady here. Her husband was one of the accused. Her husband was accused of killing my sister. Our family is here to forgive. This woman shouldn't have to bear that kind of guilt and shame and responsibility. When I spoke to the media the first day, I spoke about her husband. And I spoke about how he was always a very respectable young man. I didn't know any of the circumstances. but I knew him. So when we talk about forgiveness as a community, she sat in the gym by herself, and I went and talked to her. And I told her part of forgiveness is accepting the forgiveness of our community. Our community wants to forgive her. Now it's up to her to accept that forgiveness from us. So I thank her for her courage. Who are we as people? We talk about the every child matters. We talk about the children that are found. And out of us, we said every child matters. We didn't say every Indian child. We didn't say every black child. We didn't say every white child. We said every child matters. That's us. As Indians, we're not savages. We're not savages. That's who we are as people. We're forgiving, loving people. That is in our DNA. They tried to force that out of us, but they couldn't. They couldn't. And now we're standing here together. I also got a message to our leaders, and not only our leaders, but every man, woman, and here, every father, every mother, grandmother, grandfather, Chapanak. We are all leaders. We are all leaders of our families. And as leaders, we can lead our families into darkness. We can lead our family into addictions and violence. Or we can lead them into the sunlight, into happiness, into a safe homes. And it is our duty as Native people to lead our children into a positive lifestyle, where our community is safe, where there is no more addictions, no more suffering. This tragedy didn't have to happen. It didn't have to happen, but it did. Our leaders, I challenge you. We talk about we need treatment centers. Yes, we do. We need a long-term treatment center for crystal meth, for all the hard drugs, a long-term one. And I challenge our leaders to lead our people into those treatment centers. Lead our people into the sunlight, into happiness, into safe communities. Enough of leading our people into the darkness. Enough of leading our people into the bars and the casinos. Enough of leading our people into addictions and tragedies such as this. We are all responsible. We are all responsible. I have to speak up. I have to be vocal. Because in 2 weeks' time, the cameras are going to be shut off. The politicians are going to go home. And what's going to happen to us? Our premier is behind me, listening. Is he going to fulfill his promises? Or is it going to be like the treaties, where they forget us again? Where they forget us again? We are second-class citizens in our homeland. Every system that is out there is a two-tiered system. The justice system, the education system, everything. Everything is a two-tiered system against us. And it's time to change that. They ask us what we want. We want equality. We want equality in our own land. Treat us like human beings. Treat us with dignity and respect. That's what we need. We lost a lot of good people in our community. And we're going to mourn for a lot of years. I talk about being forgotten. And I heard it mentioned here about the Humboldt Broncos. And how the Canada came together for Humboldt. But yet, I passed a monument over there going to Nipawin. And it's pathetic. It's pathetic. Everything that was put down there, the time of the tragedy, is still there. And it's rotting. It's rotting. Is that what's going to happen to us? Are we going to forget? I think as a community we have to get together and make a plan on how these people are never forgotten. How our community members, our loved ones are never forgotten. And if we never forget them, maybe this will never happen again. This is something that my sister worked towards her whole life. We come from this community. We live the same problems as everyone else. And because of our Indian DNA, we found a better way. And we tried to share that. And my sister paid the ultimate price. And Damien was caught up in the life. He was caught up in a moment. But hearing the stories of Damien, he tried to stop it. He tried to stop it. And he paid with his life.
It's so true. That's true. I lost my husband and my dad too. That's not my husband.
So a tragedy like this, let's learn from it. Let's take strength and courage. And let's move on. Let's build a safer community.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's all I have to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, hey.
Yes.
Right here. Yep.
Good afternoon. On behalf of my family, the children of Christian Head, I just come here to personally thank the RCMP, all of them, every single one of them. They left their families behind to come and help us. And to help us grieve. We can finally grieve. A lot of people were chased out of their houses in our community, scared. Even with the cops around, we still didn't feel safe. Every little bang, we'd wake up scared. And I always thought of them. driving around, sitting in the dark, wherever. But I come here to personally thank them from my family, my sister's family, my brothers. My family has been hit hard, every single one of us. My nieces and nephews, my uncles and aunties, the whole community. We're all hurt. And as a big brother, I'm trying to be here, I'm trying to be there, trying to be everywhere. I don't know how to mourn. I rarely cry. I don't know how to cry. But I just want everybody to know we need everybody. We need everything. It's been the hardest few days of my life. But today we take our first step forward. I want to thank our leadership for everything they come and done so far, and yet they're gonna do more, and I trust them. I know they will do the best they can for everyone in our community. Anything else? With that, thank you.
It's my brother Martin. My brother lost his baby boy, and there's no words to express on what he feels today. It's very hard to say what's his thinking about. I asked if he wanted to say a few words. He said no. So I'm going to speak for him on behalf of my brother, my siblings, also the grandparents, Kelly and Ida, the mother, Carol Burns, and the family. Today is another journey of our lives where we have to forgive. And I know that, the Creator has something for us. So with all sympathy and respects of us and the guidance from the Creator, we thank you all from the bottom of our heart. And God bless you all. Yesterday I got a call from Chief Clarence Louis, and he said three words to me. And those 3 words I really thought about. and he said we must move on. Meaning, don't forget the elders, the youth. Work towards for a betterment of the community and for them, and a future for them. Build building blocks. It's like what Daryl said. We gotta have to come together. This is not gonna stop. We're gonna keep pushing. We gotta push until we're all heard from this community. I know other countries are listening. You know, with all of the things that are happening around the world, things like this, it shouldn't be like this. We need to come together and tackle this drug situation in our community. The alcohol. We need to come together as a family, as a collective, and as a nation from Canada. I'd like to say on behalf of my brother, Martin, it was a sad moment when I got a call saying that Thomas was gone. Carol was gone. Gloria was gone. Christian. Our veteran, Earl Burns. Bobby. You know, there's a lot of things that want to come out, but I just can't express it because all the pain right here, we're broken. There was a lot of talks in regards to the residential school on how it impacted us. It did impact us. How to take the Indian out of us. They just about succeeded. Taking away our ceremonies. I'm very happy for some of the traditional people that are here. The knowledge keepers, the medicine men and ladies. So I'd just like to say thank you from Martin and his little family. So with that, that's it.
At this time, I'll open up the floor to questions. So if you could come up to the front. benefits of on-reserve policing and why you think it's necessary.
I'd like to ask Chief Cameron and Grand Chief Hardlotte to come up too as well. The reason why that we are pushing tribal policing is things like this shouldn't happen to any community. The benefits of this would be trust, love. We can go gather. Not scared out of our wits when things happen like this. It shouldn't be like this. It should be where we trust our neighbors, our friends, our communities, the surrounding areas, the cities. So when we elaborate more on tribal policing, it's a benefit for this community, other communities. So it's not just us. It's the surrounding area in Turtle Island. These are the benefits. Look at the justice system. Did the justice system work for us? It didn't work for us. Look at what's happening today. Things shouldn't be like this. But I gotta make it loud and clear that we need our own tribal policing, our own judicial system, our own laws, so we can create our own BCRs, so we can collect our elders, have our own circling, sentencing circle. These are the things that, coming from us as First Nations people. And we have to make it loud and clear that, we mean business. We gotta protect our people. We gotta protect them because no people in Canada shouldn't be scared to go from here to there. But I'm very happy the RCMP are here. They're working as a collective too. They're working as a collective where when we signed treaties, they were there when we signed treaties. So I think now, looking at it in a different perspective, I think we got to create our own mechanism. Work hand in hand with the RCMP, with this tribal policing. Create our own judicial system. Our laws, our Indian laws, that won't conflict with the federal government. I got Grand Chief here that can explain too as well on why tribal policing for all nations is a benefit. I got Grand Chief Bobby Cameron to explain more on the process that needs to happen.
I think the question was, what are the benefits for First Nations, governments, to tribal policing?
I want you to move to the mic.
I think the question came from over there. For example, James Smith here and many other First Nations out there, they don't have detachments. They don't have detachments. And the response time, sorry for chuckling there, but a lot of the times members make a call to some of the detachment. Their call goes all the way to Regina. So just imagine the response time on that. There are models out there where they have peacekeepers. They have community safety officers. Some communities just call them community security guards. These are models that work with the RCMP today to make the communities safe. Part of the feasibility that the Prince Albert Grand Council will be working on is community safety plans. That's part of the feasibility. And I think our Prince Albert Grand Council, Edward Morasti, and also Vince Britton, who's from this community, who's doing that work. There are models, many models, whatever they call them, tribal policing, First Nations policing, self-administered policing. It's the same thing. There is only one model in Saskatchewan, and that's Fort Capel, File Hills. Manitoba, all the communities, many of the communities have their police services. Ontario, Alberta. So it's important, it'll benefit the First Nations in situations. The RCMP
safe, secure, and a peaceful community. This was under treaty and guaranteed to us as treaty. When will it be implemented? We hope sooner rather than later. There are, as we said earlier, states of emergency as we speak in First Nation community. From the north, east, west, south, here in our traditional territories and right across this country, coast to coast to coast. It is needed now, and it was needed yesterday.